So good morning and welcome to the Lifelong Learning Centre. My name is Sitara. I'm the Centre Manager at the Lifelong Learning Centre. I will introduce the session and talk a little bit about the session format. But thank you so much for joining us bright and early. This is an opportunity for us to talk to you about what we do at the Lifelong Learning Centre and also get some input from you about how you want to work with us. You may already know about the Lifelong Learning Centre. So Jenny has set up a Menti site where if you want to take a couple of minutes and tell us about what you already know, I think Jenny's put the code in the chat. Thank you very much, colleagues. That's really helpful. Obviously, I'll talk a little bit more about the centre today and you'll get to know a bit more about us. But this Menti board will be open and you're welcome to carry on giving your input into that. Thank you very much. The centre is a specialist service and an academic school. So we work in quite an integrated fashion. And we know our students from outreach to helping them prepare to apply to university and then pre-entry academic skills prep, then supporting them when they're on programs of study, on to graduation and beyond. So we have the student life cycle approach to our work, and being a school and a service enables the school and the service to talk to each other all the time, to shape the service and to shape the student academic experience. We work with underrepresented groups, and this includes mature students, part-time students, and students coming from widened participation backgrounds. We report on our work through the Access and Participation Plan, which is submitted to the Office for Students, and we work with educational engagement colleagues to pull this report together every year. In a nutshell, the mission of the centre is to reduce social inequality by creating second opportunities for individuals who may have experienced educational or socioeconomic disadvantage. And our work ties in so nicely with the University of Leeds values and the strategy that's based on those values around diversity and community. We're very aware that the impact we make is very much at local level. A lot of our students come from local communities, from the Leeds city region primarily. And we also know that there is intergenerational impact of our work as well. In terms of our approach, we see our students as experts. Students know the student journey best. They understand the pressures, they understand the rewards. So we work very closely with them to shape both our teaching provision and also the service provision at the centre. In terms of how the centre is constituted, we have an outreach and guidance team which works with students to tell them about opportunities in higher education in general. There is also preparatory support to apply to university and also post-application. And colleagues in the outreach team work very closely with colleagues in the student education service who are actually delivering the admissions activity to ensure that our approach to admissions is inclusive. And I will talk a little bit more about admissions later on this morning. We have a support service for mature and part-time undergraduates, not just at the Lifelong Learning Centre, but also across the university. So our support service is available to those groups. And we have our programs of study, including foundation years, where students study with us for a year and then move on to degree programs across the University of Leeds. And then we also have our own degree level programs. The Lifelong Learning Centre holds the Customer Service Excellence Accreditation. We've held it since 2017. There are 10 areas of best practice recognized in there, and we were actually quite pleased when the assessor said that he thought that we have an excellent understanding of our students' diverse needs and that we are an inclusive place for students. And they recognize our passion in widening participation across the HE sector as well. We also hold the Matrix accreditation for our advice and guidance service, and that accreditation notes that we deliver a high quality service and impartiality sits at the heart of that service. And at this point, I'm going to pass on to Mohammed, who's our guidance officer, and he will talk about the guidance service a bit more. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mohammed Hussain, and I manage the guidance service within the Lifelong Learning Centre. And the service aims to support adults from WP backgrounds who want to access higher education opportunities, including those at the University of Leeds. And what we do is we support them to get into higher education, as well as supporting them if they get to University of Leeds to their graduate destinations, and that can mean looking at modules and sometimes change of course as well. We aim to help potential mature applicants to assess whether the University of Leeds and higher education is a best fit for them, and where higher education opportunities in the region elsewhere may be a best fit, but we will help signpost them there. The University of Leeds being a selective university, our impartiality works for the institution as well as for the student, because as we know, the University of Leeds will not always be a best fit for all students. So we can signpost to other institutions within the sub-region. We work closely with other higher education institutions as well for that purpose. We work closely with faculties and admissions tutors, referring where necessary to admissions teams and taking referrals from departments where applicants have sometimes made direct contact with departments and schools. We see roughly around 500 people every year, and we help mainly advise and help them prepare for an application and study to higher education, and in particular the University of Leeds. And that can mean advising them to go and do a level 3 qualification or gain relevant professional experience where they're looking at a vocational course such as social work or nursing. We will help potential applicants to take stock of where they are, look at their strengths for higher education, and then see if University of Leeds is the best fit. Sometimes via our foundation years within the university, but sometimes going away to, say, a local college and taking access courses. So that's how we support students on the ground, make those decisions. So we're there to help them, facilitate, enable them to make the right decisions.
I'm going to very briefly talk about the approach to admissions that we take at the Lifelong Learning Centre, the contextual admissions approach as it's called. You will see that we take a number of things into account, and there are two that I will focus on particularly. One is the use of widening participation criteria for our foundation year programs, and we have a BA Professional Studies program which recruits mature, it's very much focused at recruiting mature candidates. The WP criteria include checking an applicant's postcode to see if they come from a neighbourhood where progression to higher education is low. We check to see if they did their GCSEs at a low performing school and whether they've been in care or not. So these are the three criteria we use, but we take a very holistic approach to the application itself, taking into account work experience, life experiences, and standard and non-standard qualifications that the applicant might hold, including if they've done any training, if they're already in work, for example. The really important bit of our work is alternative entry. Now, this is another route into the University of Leeds. The Lifelong Learning Centre holds the alternative entry scheme on behalf of the institution. You can read more about it in the University of Leeds admissions policy. And what we're doing in effect is that if candidates do not have GCSEs or A-level qualifications or equivalent qualifications, then we will set our own English and maths tests. We call them matriculation exams. And we also set an essay. It tends to be around 1,500 word essay where we can check things like applicants' ability to do research, critical reading, how they pull an argument together, etc. And that's very much set to see if the applicant can work at that level 3, if they've done their A levels. Applicants get support whilst they're preparing for these tests, and we offer one resit opportunity. And this is a key mechanism for getting mature students into the university, because a lot of them would have left school without gaining formal qualifications, or they may have been away from study for a very long period of time. And we work with other faculties and schools in the university as well who offer the alternative entry scheme.
I think that's me. Hi, morning everyone. So I'm Paul and I'm a student support officer in the Lifelong Learning Centre, and I support students. A big shout out to any other student support officers in this space. Now you deserve a pay rise or a medal, or probably both. I'll not talk about how I support students. I just provide pastoral support, but I'll talk more generally about how the Lifelong Learning Centre supports mature students wherever they are across the university. And we provide two services. I think we provide a physical space for mature students to be around other mature students, not to silo themselves in any way. But we appreciate that coming to university a little bit later in life, it is a little bit different, and students can feel different and see a lot of 18-year-olds and be sat in lecture theatres where they feel the oldest person in the room. And we know we've got a diverse student population, but sometimes mature students just want to sit and chat and eat and talk and work with other mature students. So we provide those physical spaces in the ZIF building. We've got a resource area with soft furnishings, tables, computers, just a space where people can be. There's a common room area as well, which is a lot larger, where people can just relax and do work. So we're providing those physical spaces for mature students who are maybe feeling a little bit isolated or lack a sense of belonging. We provide them with those physical spaces, but we also provide a second pastoral home. So I think working really closely with the wonderful services that are across the university and within a student school, we work to provide a bespoke service tailor-made for mature students. So absolutely, mature students can get support from the library and the Skills at Library team. But equally in the Lifelong Learning Centre, we have an academic skills team, because we know maybe returning to study after a long period out might be a little bit different. We have the careers guidance service, because we know the careers needs of a mature student is likely to be very different to that of an 18-year-old. Similarly with well-being, finance, a range of things, we act as that second pastoral home for mature students to get advice, help and guidance. So lots of specialist services. But we're here to help the university as well. We're well versed in supporting mature students, and we know that we can help and support colleagues across the university who are maybe less used to supporting mature students. So just an open invitation really to anyone, if you want to chat about how best to support mature students, or the work that you're doing, or the work that we're doing, or how we can work together, please absolutely do. We run regular training through OD and PL on supporting mature students as well. So do look at that if you haven't done it already, which will give a little bit more of a framework for you. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, my name's Fidelia, and I'd like to start by saying actually why I went to uni. I went to university because I suffered a big loss in my life. I lost my partner unexpectedly at home with me, and it made me question, as you can imagine, everything about my life. You know, where I was going, where I'd been, and I'd been in my job for 17 years, and as much as I loved my job, it was very stale for me. So my friend came one day that worked at uni, and she said, "What do you want to do?" And I've thought about this a lot, and I said, I want to go to uni. And uni was never a place that I thought I'd go to. It was just never in the equation. It was just something I've always wanted to do. Never thought I'd get there. Never thought it was an option. Never thought it was doable. And she said, well, time's up, sort of, you need to apply now. It's now or never. So I just went and I just did it. And then before I knew it, I sort of blinked, and I was in my first class, and I was in Parkinson building, the one that lights up on the night and looks amazing, that I'd seen loads of times. And I've said this before, it was like a rocky moment. Literally, I ran to the top of those stairs and sort of punched the air, wasn't embarrassed at all either. It was a major moment for me. But yeah, so that was the start of my my uni career really. And now I took the PHE pathway, and then after that I went, I joined faculty and I chose to do a sociology degree. So being with the Lifelong Learning Centre and then going into university, it was quite a big change. But, you know, I've always, Lifelong Learning Centre was sort of like a lifeline for me. It really, really was. The support that I've had there has been amazing. The academics team's brilliant. Literally, I would go in, and if someone was available, they'd take me to one side and see me there and then. If not, then they'd give me an appointment pretty much the next day. And the lovely lady that helped me with my work, I've honestly laughed with her, I've cried with her, I've poured my heart out to her. I think I've told her things that I've probably not told anyone, you know. And she's been there for me. And when she's not been there, I've seen other people though, and they've helped me as well. But you tend to gravitate towards the same person. But I think if it wasn't for Lifelong Learning Centre, I don't think I'd have got through my first year. I really, really don't. But it's a lovely, lovely, lovely space. And there's someone there if you need advice. I've had a lot of advice off Paul. It can be anything from funding to, you know, struggling to be able to manage, to childcare, it can be for anything. And they're there to help you. And if they can't help you, they will direct you to somebody that can as well. Yeah, what I will say is it's in a brilliant space that when you are in university and you're looking and everyone seems so young, and you feel a bit out of place and you're struggling a bit with imposter syndrome, you'll find out what that is. You gravitate back to Lifelong Learning Centre. It's a place where when you go in, everyone will say hello to you, someone will sit and speak to you. And yeah, I even now I'm in there, I study a lot in there. So I would say that if you're considering going to uni, you're worth it. If it's something you want to do, life is very short, go for it.
Thank you so much, Fidelia. Thank you. That is such an inspiring story. I'm trying not to cry. I think we're over to Helen now for academic skills.
Yeah, thanks, Dee. That was brilliant to hear. So hi everyone, I'm Helen Bowman. I'm the Academic Skills Development Manager at the Lifelong Learning Centre. We have a small academic skills team, including somebody who works specifically with students with specific learning differences as well. And we support students in various ways throughout their learning journeys. And this does start pre-entry, as Tara described. We work in the application stage through the alternative entry scheme with students, and we run the matriculation programme and write those papers. And we provide individual and group support for applicants doing the matriculations, the level 2 and level 3 exams and the essay. And we will work with them over the phone or online or face-to-face, of course. We also run a pre-entry blended learning programme, sort of preparation course called Kickstart for students who are joining us in the centre. And we've also worked with staff across the university in Gateway to Medicine, sort of took our Kickstart programme and then developed it for themselves. And this involves students developing their skills in terms of thinking about reading and working towards writing before they've even started the course. We've written this so that it's course specific. It builds on some generic content and sort of scaffolds the students towards working on course specific content, towards writing an essay. And we also hold a workshop, which was face-to-face, has been online recently, so that they can meet one another before they start their courses. They then produce some writing in a short essay form, and that's integrated into their first assignment once they join their courses. So we've already got some sort of gold to give feedback on when they start on programme. Once they start on programme, we teach on skills modules. These have sort of been we've managed to sort of integrate these increasingly within the subject. So these are also taught by programme staff as well, but we contribute to those or run them within programme to embed those skills within the teaching in the modules. And we also run workshops, some specific for our foundation years, but also some which are advertised to all mature students across the university and provide one-to-one support. And since COVID, we've been doing virtual study group twice a week and a skills drop-in, so that people can just tune in online and have a chat before doing some work, and then keep in touch with one another while we're trying to focus on specific learning activities. We work closely with Skills at Library as well, and other staff across the university, and yeah, just really would enjoy doing more collaboration with other colleagues. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Denise. I'm the Employability and Guidance Officer within the Lifelong Learning Centre, and I work with the students to offer them guidance and employability support once they're actually on the programmes. So I talk to students if they're having a little bit wobble about the course that they're doing, and if they're wanting to look at changing their course. I talk to people who are thinking about changing their progression route, because when they join us on the foundation years, the idea is that they will go on to a normal degree programme around the university, and sometimes they change their mind about what that progression is going to be. Sometimes it's possible to change the route, sometimes it's not. They also might be thinking about what careers they can do once they've finished their degree course, and I can talk to them about that. And also about how they make the most of their time at university, and looking at where they can enhance their degree by doing things like work experience, internships, joining outside speaker workshops and so on. For some of our students who complete their degrees within the Lifelong Learning Centre, I might also talk to them about continuing their studies through master's courses. Because our students are local, or a majority of them are local, I do troll the local vacancy websites and send out vacancies every week to our students, depending on the different courses that they do, to look at courses that they can do whilst they're studying that complement their degree studies. And I also send out information about what's available in the wider university that they might want to join onto, that might help them enhance their degree studies. I offer one-to-one support for employability. I also offer workshops that are available for our students and the wider students population. And I also join the teaching groups to offer employability support. So that could be talking about writing a CV, completing an application form, prepping for interview, considering what kind of questions they might be asked, and more importantly, thinking about how they're going to answer those. A lot of our students get the imposter syndrome at the point where they're about to graduate. Although they've got a degree from one of the best universities in the world, suddenly they feel as though they're not worthy of a graduate level job. And my job really is to build up that confidence and assure them that yes, they are worthy of a good job at the end of their degree. So that's my job really. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Joanna Wilkinson. I'm studying a BSc in adult nursing, and I heard about the Lifelong Learning Centre from the Mature Student Handbook that I got emailed when I started my course last year. I kind of forced myself to go to the quizzes that were on, which were run by Paul, which were good. I wasn't very good at the quizzes, but they were really brilliant, and it was lovely to meet other mature students, because I was quite concerned when I first started my course that being 54 was going to be, you know, a bit weird, and I'd be sort of on my own and quite isolated. So yeah, and I mean, they've been brilliant for me. The Lifelong Learning Centre has been amazing for me, because they were like a really fantastic connection that I had this sort of centre point where I knew I could always go to if anything adverse happened, and a couple of times it did. So I think in the first semester I had a big essay to do, and I was quite nervous about doing that. And so I I got help from Helen, who sort of really narrowed how to learning how to learn. Really was quite a big issue for me because I was just wanting to read everything. She really helped me to focus on certain things and was really good at pinpointing what I needed to do. I mean, it's amazing. I just sort of started talking about this essay and she, you know, helped me straight away. She's got a really focused mind, so that was great. And there was a time where I felt quite low with my self-esteem and my self-confidence, and this thing popped up with an email to help, you know, so you could go and talk about your worries and how you feel about yourself with Paul. And that was really great because he's so calm. He's got a wonderful voice to listen to and he's very empathetic and really kind. And Lauren was doing it with him as well, and they both shared stuff about themselves, so it felt like a really safe place to go and talk about any of your problems that you were feeling. And I came out of that really bouncing and really feeling like you know, I wasn't that bad, and it was okay. And another thing that I did right at the sort of the beginning of the course was the art trail. Really recommend if you've never ever done that. It was fantastic, and Paul and Lauren did that too, and another student came along, and it was absolutely awful weather, but it was fantastic to just go around the university. Really enjoyed that. It was just lovely to get out of the house, because obviously last year's been very difficult. There's not been much face-to-face stuff at all with anybody, so that was really cool. And the other thing that really helped me focus on reading and writing stuff, you know, academically, was Kat and Helen's study groups. They were absolutely fantastic, and it was really great because twice a week on a Monday and Wednesday you go and they taught me about Pomodoro technique and how to use that. So I use that every time now I study on my own, and it was really brilliant because I met lots of the same people every week, and so that was really lovely too. I felt like I had some friends somewhere who were out there going through the same thing as me. So that's it really. I think if I hadn't had you as a you know, a centre, I think my first year would have been really tricky actually. But I know that Lifelong Learning Centre is amazing, and it is, you know, fantastic to have as a mature student. It really is.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Lauren. I am the Student Experience Officer at the Lifelong Learning Centre. A lot of my work is about creating a sense of belonging for students, creating spaces, whether that be in person or virtually, where students can come together. And that's both students who are studying with us at the LLC and mature students across the campus. So there's some examples on there. I won't talk through everything, but we do get in touch with students at pre-entry level. So when they're coming to university and during welcome and induction, we run welcome events for our own students who are studying with us, and an optional event for mature students across campus, which is really well attended. And is a lot about saying you're not the only mature student here. We have nice statistics, and we're able to say it's a fact that you're not the only mature student here, and actually there's loads of you, and remember that this is a space that you can always come to, and just reminding students that they deserve to be at university just as much as anybody else, as everyone's talked about. There can be a lot of imposter syndrome and maybe feeling like they're the only mature student perhaps in their whole faculty, and just reminding them that they're not, and that they can come to these spaces and feel part of our community if that's what they need while they're at university. We run lots of fun events. Jo's just mentioned a few because she came along to them. And as much as these kind of function as something like a campus tour and finding a way around university, or it might be an event about well-being, I think really the value in them is that they are spaces where students make connections, and you see people making friends and finding that peer support that they maybe can't find in their school or on their course. And you see that then continue throughout their time at university, and I think it makes the world a difference. So we do, in terms of where all of this information is, we send out a newsletter every 2 weeks, which does also go out to mature students across campus. I can add staff to that as well, so if anybody is part of that, just let me know. and all of the information about all of the things we do at the LLC that people can access is on those. So definitely direct students to them because they should be getting them. They just might not be reading them. The last thing I think I'll mention as well is the Mature Student Advisory Board. So this is something we have just set up, very, very excited about it. We have recruited 14 students now to be a part of our Mature Student Advisory Board, and we're going to meet 4 times a year to chat about how we can make university better for mature students, and we'd love to collaborate with other services and departments on that as well.
Just very quickly, I just want to talk about what we're focusing on over the next 12 months or so. Lots of discussions around pedagogy. Obviously, the pandemic has forced all of us to work online and develop more blended models of teaching delivery. And whilst access to digital has been an issue, especially for students who do come from disadvantaged backgrounds, and we have worked with colleagues in educational engagement and other colleagues to make sure that students do get access to technology whilst they're studying. But there have been some really good wins as well, especially designing more flexible learning, which mature students have really liked in terms of how it fits with their other commitments. So there are more reflections on that at the centre. We are focusing quite a lot on strengthening our partnerships with faculties and services, and also looking at the impact of the work we do. So we're taking quite a formal approach now to developing. We've developed the student success framework, and we're now going to couch that framework within kind of a recognized evaluation model. Currently, we're looking at NARUPI. Please don't ask me to explain what the abbreviation is, but it's a research framework, evaluation framework, where you look at a set of objectives that you're trying to tie in with our service aims. And that will enable us to share that research widely with yourselves in the university and external to the university as well. Particularly in terms of partnership work within the university, we're looking at transition support for foundation year students when they finish with the Lifelong Learning Centre and move on to degree study. We're working also on support for mature students and how we can enhance that, and also how we can increase recruitment of mature students at the University of Leeds. And it is particularly in this area that we would really welcome your input. This open house session is part of gathering that input, but we also want to have ongoing dialogue with you. Now, there have been suggestions in the LLC that we set up a Microsoft Teams area. We talk about specialist support for underrepresented groups and mature students across the university. I don't know how you feel about that. You're welcome to give us your feedback about what you think would work best in terms of keeping in touch and learning from each other. So I'm going to wrap up, say thank you, and then also say that we have breakout rooms set up. We have about, 18 minutes for the breakout room. So I think excellent timekeeping by all colleagues. Thank you for that. Just pick an area of interest. Jenny will launch the breakout rooms in a second. And just to say that if you are back on campus, we are on campus Monday to Friday. You are very welcome to drop into the Lifelong Learning Centre. We're on level 11 of the Margie and Arnold Ziff building, and just come and say hello, and we'll be very happy to have a chat with you and show you the centre and how that's set up to support students. So thank you so very much for joining us today.